Hello, hello. My name's David Jones at Tenacious D Jones on Twitter, Tenacious D Jones on DraftKings. I'm here on the Mayo Media Network to talk to you about Thursday Night Football. We've got a good one this week. We had a bad one last week. We got a good one this week. It's going to go back and forth. It's the Atlanta Falcons versus the Carolina Panthers in Atlanta. We all know that they're blowing every lead imaginable. It's pretty sad, me being a resident Falcons fan. I hate it, and my Sundays are bad. But you have the Panthers coming to Atlanta, 2.5-point favorites. The over-under's 51.5 points. It probably goes over because every game that the Falcons are in, it seems to go over. The Panthers are certainly going to do their part. I'm from the FTN Network, Fade the Noise Network. You've heard us on Sirius. You see us on Twitter. You see Pat retweeting all the tweets. He is certainly involved in FTN. Big player over there. But look, if you want to dig into the matchups more, we have all sorts of tools for you over there. We have the wide receiver cornerback tool, which I looked at a lot this week. We had, what was it? In the top 12 matchups, cornerback versus wide receiver. In this game, we have 5 of the top 12, and half of them are on the Falcons side, which I'm more on the Carolina side, just because the Falcons are that bad. Carolina has actually been very good against the pass. However, you have 2 very talented wide receivers in Julio Jones, who's a little beat up, and Calvin Ridley coming in, and they can win their matchups. Every time you see a tough DB going up against a wide receiver, it doesn't always mean the DB is going to win, especially when you have elite athletes like Julio and Ridley, former Alabama wide receivers, and they've come together in Atlanta quite nicely. Atlanta just needs the defense to step up. But look, we're breaking down the DraftKings Showdown slate specifically. There's $1 million up top to first prize, $1 million life-changing dollars. If you didn't see, someone was winning the $1 million on the last Showdown slate. The game was over. They were outright winning the $1 million with both defenses from the game. Imagine that. That's how you get different. And there was a stat correction. They lost almost all of it. They didn't even double up their money if they maxed it out. It was $15 entry. He walked away, or she walked away with $3,000. So if he maxed it out, didn't double their money. But hey, you're close. I hope he does it sometime soon, but not Thursday because we want the money. So let's dive into it. A couple notes on the slate. Christian McCaffrey has come back from injured reserve. As I record this, the day before, there is no word if he is definitively going to play or if he is not going to play. The tea leaves are saying that he might get in. I mean, Christian McCaffrey actually might be back for this one, but I would not expect a full workload. However, the coaches have come out and said that he's not coming in the game unless he's 100%. And if he's 100%, you would think he gets closer to that normal workload. But when you dig into it deeper, it looks like if CMC plays, that he's going to get about 70% of the balls. And then you've got Mike Davis, who's been playing out of his mind every week except the last 2, getting the other touches about 30%. So we just have to wait and see how that goes. Of course, both backs can catch passes. Both backs can run the ball. But both backs are priced up pretty high. Christian McCaffrey is the highest priced player on the slate. And then Mike Davis comes in, I think, about the 8th highest price, 7th or 8th highest price guy, which gives him a ton of value if Christian McCaffrey ends up not playing, which might even be a game time decision. So if Christian McCaffrey's out, then we bump up a lot of Mike Davis, especially against Atlanta. But if CMC is in, then you got to bump him both down, right? You can't pay, $13,200 for Mike Davis at the captain spot. You wouldn't think with 30% of the balls. And then it's hard to fade Christian McCaffrey at anything, but he's coming back. They might not need to rely on him as much if you're throwing it on Atlanta more than running the ball. $17,700 seems like a lot to ask for someone at the captain spot who's coming back from injured reserve, who's not going to get all the touches he usually does. But we know Christian McCaffrey's great. Anyway, let's jump into it. I'm trying to decide what to do with Christian McCaffrey, but I guess we just have to wait and see. The next highest priced player at the captain spot, which is 1.5x of the amount you have to spend on the player, aside from the flex spot. That came out weird. They're more expensive on DraftKings. Matt Ryan. the Atlanta quarterback who's had his struggles this season, but then also looks good. Matt Ryan is still a quality quarterback, in my opinion, not just because I'm a Falcons fan. They've just been dealt a bad hand so far this season. You had games where Julio's beat up. You had Ridley getting smothered one game. Ridley has 6 touchdowns on the season. It seems like more, but he's had 2 double touchdown games. You had Russell Gage getting a little beat up. They were having to go into their wide receiver 4 and 3. However, this game, it looks like they're going to play. Now, I'll tell you, Julio, he's got a new hip issue that popped up, but it appears he's still going to play. Russell Gage has a new knee issue that popped up, but it appears he's still going to play as I record this the day before, so you have to keep up with that news. I'm going to talk about this game like Julio and Gage are full go. So, Matt Ryan, I don't want him at my captain spot going against the Carolina Panthers. Carolina is ranked 6th in touchdown passes given up. They've given up 1.3 touchdown passes on the season, and they're good against the pass. Some people were picking on them earlier in the season. At FTN, we were talking about this is a good backfield. Our defensive backs for the Carolina Panthers, they're not giving up a ton. Even though I was talking up Ridley and Julio earlier, they can beat the matchups. I think that the Carolina wide receivers, actually, I know they can beat the Atlanta matchups better, so I lean there. So if I'm higher on the Carolina passing side, I've got to be lower on Matt Ryan, even though he might be playing from behind. But if it's anything like the Atlanta Falcons games usually go, they're going to be up in the 4th quarter, and Matt Ryan's not going to touch the ball with 5 minutes to go. Okay, we hate it. So, Matt Ryan, decent flex. Captain spot, I'm not going to go to him. Teddy Bridgewater, I will go to. Going against Atlanta, look, Atlanta's ranked 30th against the pass. They're ranked 31st in touchdowns given up. Atlanta gives up 2.7 receiving touchdowns a game. That's a ton. You have to be interested in all the passing options on the Carolina Panthers. Teddy Bridgewater, I like him a lot. If he's throwing touchdowns, the receivers are catching them, yes. They're getting points too, yes. But I like Teddy in this spot. He's going to be my captain, number 1. I think we can fit some value guys down below him. Calvin Ridley, priced above Julio Jones, yet again this week, really stepping up. Going up against this Carolina Panthers team, look, I just talked about it. They're tough against the pass. Ridley's matchup is ranked pretty high as far as the FTN cornerback wide receiver rankings go. We know that Ridley and Julio both can have double touchdown games. We know that Ridley's going to be highly involved, especially if Julio Jones, with this hip issue, is hindered by it at all. We've seen Julio try and play through injuries in the past. And have to come out some, but we've also seen him play all the way through injuries and have great games. So, and if I remember correctly too, this is just dawning on me, I'm pretty sure Julio had like a 200 or 250 yard game against the Carolina Panthers at home just a couple years ago. I'm remembering that he plays the Panthers very well. However, if he's beat up, I have to lean more on Ridley. So I do like Ridley a lot in this matchup. If there was an Atlanta guy I was going to put in the captain spot, it would be Ridley. But Ridley is a great flex option as well. I'm going to have him in a ton of lineups. I'm going to make sure to either have Ridley or Julio in virtually all of my lineups, probably all of them, one or the other or both. Below Ridley, Julio Jones, $14,700. We just talked about him. It's Julio Jones, arguably the best wide receiver in the league for his career for right now and maybe of all time. I've heard the argument made. I'm not sure I want to go that far, but Julio Jones is a great option. We saw him have a great game 2 weeks ago when people were off of him. His price was down. Look, he's certainly capable. He's Julio Jones. I don't think I want him in the majority of my captain lineups. If I had 10 lineups, I might throw him in 1 or 2 just because the upside with Julio is obviously so good. Carolina's got it better, though. Robby Anderson underneath him, $13,800. Robby Anderson this week should see a lot of A.J. Terrell, who's getting absolutely slaughtered. He's getting thrown all over. He is having a poor season. The Atlanta Falcons defense is having a poor season. And Robby Anderson is having a great season now that he is out of the state of New York and he has a capable quarterback. Teddy Bridgewater, more capable than Sam Darnold. Sorry, he just is. New York fans are going to hate that, but guess what? You're going to have a new quarterback next year. Robby Anderson, he's going to be a good play here. I like him at the captain spot as well. He's getting targeted a ton, double-digit targets in almost half of his games. He has not gone under 74 yards in all but one game, and that was against the Chargers in California. Against New Orleans, 8 targets, Chicago, 5, Atlanta last time they played. In Week 5, he got 12 targets, 8 catches, 112 yards. one rushing attempt, and were the touchdowns. I don't think he got in the end zone that week. However, he put up 22.5 fantasy points. Obviously, the Falcons know he got to him last time. They're going to do their best to cover him, but I'm just not so sure that they can. Same goes for the other wide receiver in DJ Moore, who's a couple more ticks down as far as price goes, 12,300. I think DJ Moore's the most talented wide receiver on the bunch. On the Carolina Panthers. I think he is priced too cheap here, and I love him at captain. He's going to get targeted just as much. He's almost got to 100 yards the past 3 games, 93 yards in all 3 of the past 3 games, 2 touchdowns last week. 2 weeks before that, another touchdown. I mean, DJ Moore, what's not to like against the Atlanta Falcons? He is a great salary-saving option, I would say. At the captain spot, you can get all over him. I skipped over Mike Davis, $13,200. It's all going to depend on Christian McCaffrey. If McCaffrey's out, lock and load him up at the captain spot. If McCaffrey's in, you got to tick him down. I wouldn't say completely take him out of flex consideration because he's still going to get in this game, and he should still be effective in the time that he gets. All it takes is a touchdown for this guy. He's going to catch 2 or 3 passes, get 5, 6 at least attempts on the ground. If he gets a touchdown, he's going to be in the optimal lineup. Mike Davis, he's fine, but that all depends on the Christian McCaffrey news. McCaffrey out, bump Davis way up. Todd Gurley. Let's talk about Todd Gurley. I dropped my notes, and I want to read this. So Todd Gurley. I'm on team Todd Gurley this year. Everyone's saying, or was saying, Todd Gurley's dust. Todd Gurley sucks. No one's drafting Todd Gurley appropriately. I pulled up some stats from everyone. Here you go. Todd Gurley tied for first in rushing touchdowns this season with Derrick Henry and Dalvin Cook, I think. Tied for first in rushing touchdowns. It's week 8. Second most carries by any RB. I thought he had an arthritic knee. What's going on? How do you get the second most carries of any RB if you're so bad? Second most carries. 6th in rushing yards gained. So it's not just a red zone thing for Todd Gurley. He's 6th in rushing yards gained. It's week 8. He's also 6th in fantasy points for RBs in standard leagues. Yet some people are still going to say that he's no good. Todd Gurley's still fine. He's going to get a lot of handles in this game. He's not so involved in the pass game, or as much involved in the pass game as I would like to have seen on this Atlanta offense. Not as involved as he was with the Rams last year, maybe not last year, the year before that. He's really just going to be used on the ground a lot. 23 attempts last week, 20 the week before that. I would expect somewhere in the high teens. I don't think you go back to him 23 times here, but it just depends on the game script of the game. If the Falcons are trailing, then they are going to have to, they're going to have to throw it more to Ridley and to Julio. Excuse me, not a corona cough. Under DJ Moore, we've got Hayden Hurst, the tight end for the Atlanta Falcons. He's getting virtually all the tight end snaps, unless it's a blocking play and they're going to try and run around the corner. With Todd Gurley, he's okay. He hasn't absolutely lit the world on fire, and going against this Carolina team, I don't love it, but he gets his, right? Targeted 7 times, 4 times, 6 times, 6 times. He'll get you up in the low teens in fantasy points. If he gets a touchdown, he might get you to 15 like he did against Minnesota, but we know Minnesota is a sieve for pass catchers. Carolina is better. Hayden Hurst, he's fine at your flex position. I'm not going to go there for my captain spot. So if we have to dig down a little bit deeper, I'm going to flip it over to flex positions because there's nobody else I'm interested in at the captain spot except for one guy. Let me cover him first. So if you want to take a complete flyer, Russell Gage has a good matchup this week. Russell Gage, he's clearly the wide receiver 3 in this Atlanta Falcons offense. Russell Gage this week is going up against Jeremy Chin. So that's the best matchup that you can have going against the Carolina Panthers. Even though they're tough against the pass, he's going to be in a good spot. But again, I'm going to say he is questionable for this matchup with a new knee injury that popped up at Tuesday's practice. That's not what you want to see. If Russell Gage is in at full health, you can consider him as a flyer on for a captain spot. If I made 20 teams, I'd put him 1 at captain. I really like the Carolina guys over him. So flipping back over to flex prices, let's walk it down, see who else we have left here. So I'll say you can use either the kickers, they're fine. You can use Sly or you can use Koo for the Atlanta Falcons or Carolina. The game will be in a dome. The roof should be closed. I would think the weather's bad in Atlanta today. Might be better tomorrow. I would think the roof's going to be closed here. And we know that is good for kickers. So either one of these guys. It doesn't necessarily matter which kicker you think or which team's going to win to use their kicker. It matters maybe who's going to get closer to the red zone without converting. And to me, that would probably be the Atlanta Falcons. So I'd like Younghoe Koo the best out of those options. You've got the Panthers and the Falcons defense. Not really interested in either of the defenses here. There's no way in hell I'm going to touch the Atlanta Falcons. The Panthers maybe, but I also think the Falcons are going to be able to get some scoring here. Falcons don't typically turn it over a lot, so I'm not really on either of these defenses. You have Ian Thomas, 2,600 below the defenses. A guy that I was expecting more from too this season. He's not really had a breakout game. I mean, the most that he's done so far this season is catch, 2 balls for, I know it wasn't a lot, 2 balls for 5 yards. And then he had 1 week with 1 reception for 11 yards. But the 1 week where he got to 8.5 points, it was 1 touchdown, not so good. He went up against Atlanta in week 5, complete goose egg, 1 target, 0 receptions. I don't think that that's going to repeat itself. I think he'll get a target or 2 in this game, but we have to wait and we have to see. So underneath Ian Thomas, a couple other guys that you can look at. You've got Zacchaeus, the Atlanta Falcons wide receiver, who gets more play. Of course, if Julio gets injured or if Gage is out of the game, he would be the body that comes in to fill that role. We saw him do it in a primetime game. In week 4 against Green Bay? He got 9 targets, 8 receptions, 486 yards. Has not gotten the end zone yet, but he's a guy that they can draw up a play for, especially with one of these wide receivers if they are injured or out. If you're trying to scrape the bottom of the barrel and looking for guys that you can maybe get lucky with, you can look at Brian Hill for the Atlanta Falcons. So he's gotten in the game and contributed every single game. He hasn't had a game with less than 3 attempts, and he's picking up yards on the ground. His worst game was against Detroit last week. But, I mean, he's going to get you, 4 to 7 minimum DraftKings points here. He's also in the receiving game. So there hasn't been a game also this season where he's been targeted less than 2 times. He's getting 2 to 3 targets every time, putting up 15 to 25 yards through the air, and then, another 15 to 25, call it, on the ground. So he's going to get you 5 to 9 fantasy points, and at $2,200, that's probably enough to pay off his salary if you're not leaving a lot of salary on the table. So when you're using these cheap guys, you do not want to leave a lot of salary on the table because Brian Hill, we don't expect 15, 20 points from him. We want him to get close to 10 and then build real tight around him. So our other guys, our high volume guys, our Julios, our Ridleys, our Moores, our Andersons are racking up the points, and then he just comes in allowing us to fit some of those higher price guys, and he does his job and gets over the 2,200 mark. Gonna go over, see if I want anyone else. Ito Smith, not really interested. He's 3rd on the running back chart. You've got Blake, the wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons, who's a guy you can consider if you're mass multi-entering, and if Julio and Gage are both injured, but you want to go to Zacchaeus before that. Let me look at these tight ends for Atlanta. Lee Stocker's just the guy, $200. You probably don't want to go there. He's not going to do anything unless they just drop a play for him in the end zone. And then, let's see here. One other guy I wanted to look at. Chris Manhertz, he's going to be behind Ian Thomas, but the Carolina Panthers aren't really using a lot of the tight end here. I mean, it's a showdown. So if you want to take a shot on a guy like this, like we saw last game, the Bears game, you got Munson there because you had an injury at the tight end position. Someone weird usually goes off. You can go back and look at the injuries for all these games, really, these showdown games. You have the Freeman injury. You have, there were several other running backs that's slipping my mind right now that got injured, and people come in behind them and have a good game. All it takes is one big play, but that is not me recommending Manhertz. That's me really just talking about strategy for showdown. I think that's about it. That's all I really wanted to talk about here. Teddy Bridgewater is going to be my favorite captain. DJ Moore behind him. Robby Anderson. I want someone from that Carolina passing attack. If Christian McCaffrey's out, Mike Davis bumps way up there. I might put him 1, even over Teddy B, but I think CMC is probably going to play. You have to watch the news from that. If I want to take someone from the Atlanta Falcons, it's going to be Calvin Ridley. So listen, I appreciate you watching this. Please smash that like button. You see it right down there on YouTube. We would appreciate that. Please come over to ftndaily.com. Check it out. We have a lot of free tools you can look at. We have a parlay calculator for all you degens that want to find the best line on your betting picks. That's what I do. That's what we post over at ftnbets.com. So thanks, guys. I hope you win all the money, and I hope you don't get stat corrected and lose $1 million. See ya.